Hello world! Welcome to the Dino Mega Integration Guide. In this lesson, I will show you how to require items in the player's inventory before a quest becomes available to them. We will accomplish this using quest prerequisites. At my end, I will be using version 4 of my inventory system and version 2 of my quest system. Before you start, make sure you have both systems installed and set up in your project. You will also need a quest and a few item pickups nearby to test with. If you are not sure how to handle any of these requirements, refer to the documentation or watch the setup and usage guide videos before you continue. For this lesson, our first goal is to make sure the player has a loot box in their inventory before the quest becomes available to them. And we do that by setting a prerequisite for our quest in the data table. Go ahead and open the quest data table now. You can find it in the Blueprints, Variables, Data Tables folder. After you open the data table, select your quest, then click the Add button for the Quest Prerequisites map. The key is the prerequisite type. When you hover over each one, you will see a description and how it should be used. The ones that have quest in the name are handled internally by the system. If you want to learn more about those, check the quest prerequisites chapter in the documentation. Everything else in the list is meant for custom prerequisites that we handle ourselves, and I will show you where we write that custom logic in a moment. But first, let us finish this definition. Since this video is about requiring items in the player inventory to show this quest, select inventory from the list of types. Then for the value, enter loot_box. Before we go any further, there is one important thing to know. Prerequisites are only evaluated if the quest state is not already set to available. If we press play right now, you will notice the quest is available. That is because it was already available from earlier testing before we added the prerequisite. So we need to reset that state. That is why I have the reset button in my level. I am going to step on it now, and you will see the quest is no longer available. That is exactly what we want at this point. It means the prerequisite is being checked, and since we have not written any logic for it yet, it is not returning a completed status. That is why nothing changes when we pick up the item. We still need to tell the quest system how to check this prerequisite, and we do that in our player controller. Using the quest system isQuestPrerequisiteComplete function. If you do not see this function, you need to add the BPI Quest Connected Systems Blueprint interface to your player controller. If you have been following the playlist in order, we added this in a previous video when we set up the quest rewards. Just as a quick recap, this blueprint interface is how the quest system interacts with our other systems to get the information it needs and to make requests like giving quest rewards. Go ahead and open the isQuestPrerequisiteComplete function. This is where we will handle writing our logic for our custom prerequisites. Add and connect a switch node up to the prerequisite type coming into the function. This gives us an execution path for each of our different types. This type is what we set in the data table. Since we are working with inventory, we are going to hook that path up to this return node that the function started us with. For the other paths, you would create additional return nodes as needed. Next, for our inputs, we have prerequisite key and value. These are parsed from the string value we set in our data table for this prerequisite. Right now, the string we have set is loot_box, and as is, this string would be what is sent into this function as our prerequisite key. To make this function work, we want to check the quantity of our item in the player's inventory. We also know what item it is, as it is what we set in the data table, loot_box, and this value is passed into our function with the prerequisite key input. We can also assume since we didn't define how much of this item we want, we must want at least one. I'll show you how to define a different amount in a moment, but for now, let's keep it simple. Drag in your AC_inventory system component and call getStorageComponent. Select inventory as the storage type, then from it make a call to getItemQuantity. Connect the prerequisite key up to the item row name on the getItemQuantity node, or if you prefer to keep your graph clean, get this input variable through the right-click menu. Now we want to evaluate our item quantity against our prerequisite value, and we'll do that using a greater than or equal to node. Let's talk about how we set a value. As mentioned before, the value is optional, and we are going to code our logic, so if we don't provide a value, we will default to using 1, meaning we want at least one of this item in our player inventory to satisfy this requirement. If we provide a value, we will use that number instead. To set a different amount as the value, we would append our string in the data table with a colon and then the number. For example, if I wanted the player to have 3 loot boxes, the string would read as loot_box:3. We will test with a custom value in a moment, but first let's make sure the default value works when no value is set. I am going to remove the colon and the 3 and set our string to just loot_box. Then back in our function, I'm going to connect a max node to our greater than or equal to node. Set one of the integers on the node to 1 and the other will hook up to our prerequisite value. This max node is saying, of the two numbers, use the bigger one. If our prerequisite value is not set to a number, converting it to an integer will return 0. Thus our default of 1 will be used instead. If it is set to a valid number, that number will be used if it is greater than our default. Hook the greater than or equal to output up to the isComplete boolean on our return node, then press play and try it out. Make sure you don't have the item in your inventory and that your quest is not currently available. Then go over and pick up the loot box. As soon as you do, the quest should become available. Now you may have noticed, if you drop the loot box, the quest is still available. You may like that, but if you wanted to recheck to see if the conditions are still met, there is an option for that. Head back into the data table and expand the quest options section. You can learn what all the options do in the documentation. But for our needs, we want to enable the Reevaluate Availability option. This will tell the system to keep checking to see if the conditions are valid, and if they are not, then make the quest unavailable again. After enabling the option, press play and try it out. When we drop the item, the quest is no longer available. When we pick it up, it is available again. Now I will show you a more advanced use case. Let's say in addition to the loot box, we also want the player to have 5 pieces of wood. We can use a comma in our syntax to separate the unique item requirements. Go ahead and set the string to loot _box, comma wood, colon, 5. Then from a clear quest state and neither item in your inventory, pick up both items. When you have both, the quest will become available to you. You can confirm by watching the quest state cycle when you drop either item. Let's take it a step further. Say you want just the wood to be on your player's hotbar. Create a new prerequisite for the quest and select hotbar. Then remove the wood requirement from your inventory and set it to your hotbar. Now we just need to tell the quest system how to evaluate the hotbar type in our function. And the logic we already wrote for our inventory check can be reused. The only thing we need to do is provide a different storage type on the getStorageComponent node. We can do this by attaching a select node up to it. Then connect the prerequisite type into the wildcard index. Now we can provide a different storage type for each of our prerequisite types. For the types not related to the inventory system, just leave the value set to null. For hotbar, select hotbar. Also make sure to select inventory for inventory to preserve our original functionality. While we are here, we can also implement support for equipped equipment by setting the storage type to equipment. We can also make currency a requirement by just setting it to inventory, since internally the inventory system will know it is a currency and to return its value. Then we just need to route the other execution paths into our current one. I'm going to create a reroute node at the start and connect the hotbar, equipment, and currency. Go ahead and try it out. Right when we start, we see the quest change availability back to unavailable. Then when we move the wood from our inventory to our hotbar, the quest is ready for us again. To confirm, you can swap out and then back in the different items. That is it. You now have built the support needed for requiring items in your inventory, hotbar, and even equipped equipment and currency. If you have questions or requests, you can post them in the comments. If this video helped, please consider liking it, and if you would like to be notified of new videos, make sure you subscribe. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your game.